Okay, this video goes with Lesson 1, Introduction to Blender. Now what I have here is an example program. However, straight away we can see this looks very confusing because there are lots of windows and lots of information. And this can be one of the problems with Blender because we sometimes see a bit too much. The first thing we need to do is just simplify the user experience down to what we want to see. So we're going to look in the corners of each of these windows at these tiny little buttons. And as we move over these buttons, the mouse will turn into a little cross. Now what we could do is drag these down or across and create more windows. But if we do the opposite and we drag them over another window, we can get rid of them. See, I can merge that one, I can merge that one, I can merge that one, and again I can merge this one across. And it's important that you kind of keep the corner of the window that you want to keep. So there we are, I now have one nice simple window, and I'm even going to hide these options on the left here. And I can get them back just by pressing the little plus button. So I now have a Jenga tower. The next thing we need to learn is how to navigate around in 3D space in Blender. Now, this is all in your notes if you want to go over and have a look. But essentially, the left button in Blender is used for selecting menus and selecting options. And the right mouse button is used for selecting objects, or parts of objects. And then our middle mouse button here is used for moving around 3D space. So we have a look at that again. I'm using the left button for things like menus. I'm using the right button for selecting an object. You'll notice when I select an object there are 3 arrows, and there's one for each axis. So down here you can see I've got the y-axis, the x-axis and the z-axis. We call those Cartesian coordinates. And I can move these by left clicking on one of these axes. I can move the object. Now you'll notice it hasn't fallen down, and that's because I'm still in the object mode here. I can look around by holding down my middle mouse button and rotating. Zoom in and out with the wheel. If I hold down shift and use the wheel, I can scroll up and down. If I hold down control, I can scroll left and right. However, really what we want to see is something a bit more fun happen. So I'm going to go to Game and start the game engine. And this turns on the physics engine of Blender. Of course, the first thing that gets applied is gravity, so my box falls. If I remove some other blocks lower down my tower, so let's remove this tower, I'm going to move this from the tower, and we'll try again. Pick a good angle, game, start game engine. We can see it falls over, and I can press escape to exit from that. And that's the first bit of practice you need to do. If you're in one of my classes, then all of the Blender files that we use are on your Edmodo page. Now the next thing I'd like to do is to be able to move or put some objects on top to make my tower a bit taller. So I'm going to go up to the top of my tower. Now I'm going to cheat here a little bit. I'm going to select this block here. I'm going to use Shift and D. That will create a duplicate that I can place on my tower and put a bit more precisely. And I can do the same again. Create another duplicate and another duplicate. Now it's worth noting that the duplicates appear inside each other. So if I do another duplicate here, it's inside the existing object. And in object mode we can have 2 objects in the same space, but we can't in the game mode. So when I run the game mode, something interesting happens. If you look carefully, you'll see the block jumps up. It separates into 2 separate blocks. We need to be very careful that we don't have 2 blocks inside each other. One other thing we might want to be able to do is to rotate. And that's easy. On the keyboard I can press R. As we rotate, but you notice it rotates in an odd angle. So I can tell it to rotate on a specific angle. So if I press X, I can now rotate off the X-axis. If I press Y, the Y-axis, and Z, on the Z-axis. And if you want to, you can type in a specific number. So I could type in 90, and it would rotate exactly 90 degrees. I can position that in its correct place. And that's it for the first lesson. This is mainly about learning how to navigate around in 3D and how to control the objects. In your next lesson we'll have a look how we can actually create our own objects and a little bit more about the physics.